Hey everybody, Austin Falingo with jamplay.com here. I apologize if I look like I've been crying. I have, because this lesson is going to be so fantastic. But no, really, my allergies are terrible. It's bad here in Nashville this year, so I've got my ginger ale. We'll make do, but yeah, I apologize. It's getting me bad. So anyways, welcome to week 3 of jazz chord solos. This is going to be a good lesson here. So just to recap, what we've done so far is we did an introduction to triads via the cage system, right? So we took all all those, right? Like I said, I recommend running them through the cycle of fifths, circle of fourths, whatever you call it, however you like to look at it, I guess. Chromatically, all that stuff, all 12 keys, let's do it, guys. That helps you get the base of, breaking down chords little by little, right? Super useful when using chord solos as well. That's why we learned them. And then last week, we took a simple melody I wrote, and remember I used just the melody, and then from there we used different triads and colors in the triads. We used augmented, we used diminished, major, minor. We used a sus, to delay the resolution in the last example. Like I said, it just spiced up just a simple melody. Now, where is this useful? It's useful in a solo guitar setting, in a trio setting, if it's just bass, drums, guitar, anything where you don't really have a whole lot of harmonic instruments going on, right? Sometimes I feel like the guitar, people just think it's like a rock instrument, or it's just, what's the old joke? How do you get a guitar player to shut up? Put some sheet music in front of them, right? That's not true, guys, right? The more stuff we learn like this, the cooler we sound. We sound like these piano player guys, right? Playing all that cool stuff. So, with that being said, by the end of this course, we are going to play some cool, jazz chord solos. Now, remember, chord solo is just different than a single line. We're using chords, we're using drop twos, triads, little chords, which are drop twos. So that's the point, it's different. You definitely hear it in 30s and 40s swing. Ranger Doug is a great example of somebody who, plays a lot of chord solos and stuff. So, Joe Pass, everybody's done it, So yeah, like I said, it's a cool way to differentiate, your single line soloing. Also, it's just a great way to comp behind a soloist, right? And here's the thing too, as we learn these drop twos, I meant to say this last week as well. This course is kind of built on the previous one, which is Slices of Jazz. So I highly recommend checking that out. If you're digging this, you might, if you dig the way I think and the way I, approach things. That's a cool course. I show you some tried and true scales that just work over any kind of chord progression. You do intros, outros, endings, tags. We talk about reading charts. But that's what I was going to say, with the reading charts thing, what's cool, and you'll see this will make more sense as we do it, but with the chord solo stuff, it's kind of like, sometimes you'll see a C major 7, right? But what happens is when you learn kind of these drop twos and stuff, rather than just seeing 2 bars, or say it's like a vamp, right, of just C major 7 to F, right? By learning all these, that would be a simple, quick little example, right? Where it makes things more interesting than just the constant C major 7, that form of it, right? So, cool. So with that being said, today we're going to go over 16 inversions of a 7th chord. I will say these are kind of... So now we're taking a triad, a root, a third, and a fifth, and we're adding a 7th. So what we're going to do is, with every one of these examples, I'm going to use a flat or a dominant chord, right? So we have root, third, fifth, flat 7. that's kind of like, think of it as like a template, right? And from there, we're going to build drop twos. Now, are there more than 16 inversions? Yeah, kind of. And we'll get into that a little bit. And I'll kind of show you, how to base building drop twos off of this, right? But let's just get started here. So, guys, if we could pull up example number 1, which is 7th chord inversion strings 1 through 4. There we go. Okay, so this is kind of, think of it as like, this is a great way to start, a good place to start at, right? So, and I'm going to show you some cool stuff you can do with these just right off the bat as well. And the whole purpose of this too, like I said, is it's learning your territory. The more of this stuff you all know, right, the better off you are. And how I look at it too, there's a lot of theory involved in a way too, but like, just by seeing all these shape-wise around the neck and everything, it just helps you see things, And then, when you solo it, it helps where your roots, your thirds, your fifths, your sevenths, your arpeggios and stuff are, right? So, like I said, here's our first chord, is a C7th like this, right? So, just, I'm all about, if you have any sort of good, like, key ways to see things, I kind of see it from there, right? So it's coming from a C shape, like when we talked about Cage a couple weeks ago. It's coming from that, but it's a dominant 7th, right? But it's on the first 4 strings, right? So we have a third, a flat 7, a root, and a 5th, right? Now, like I said, you have an E, a B flat, a C, and a G. I would highly recommend, either way, how you see it, it doesn't matter. It's the same thing. It's fine. I feel like numbers, though, are, get used to the numbers, because they're easy to say. You can say them quicker than like the notes. Same with like, this has nothing to do with this course, but like the number system charts, those are great because you don't ever have to rewrite the chart like a Nashville number system, right? If the singer shows up and wants to do the song rather than C, but in E flat, 1 is still 1, which is either C or E flat. Like I said, I'm not going to get into that too much, but good things to know, especially when you're doing stuff on the fly, especially like in band situations too. I've been on stage a million times where it's like, I don't really know this song, but bass player's going, very simple 1/4, it's just a good way to communicate things in music. So you're probably looking at this and you're like, well, what are all these weird things he has labeled under the chords? So this is the way I learned it, right? And how it works is anytime you're looking at these drop twos, and as we build the solos, I'm going to use this kind of, I'm gonna write them like this, so you guys will know where I'm at. But generally, based on like, if here's your chord, here's your top, this is the third of the chord, right? Of a C7th. So what you do is, it says C7 3. Really, it looks like a fraction a lot. I just wrote it like this. Just I couldn't find there wasn't a fraction thing in the program I'm using. But if it's really would be like 3, 4, which means the third on the 4th string, right? So because we're dealing with strings 1 through 4. So that's why that looks like that. So like I said, all the chords are already marked out, for the most part. But there would be our first one. Now, the same thing with the triad stuff, guys. I'm basing this off of where my lowest chord is, right? So for C, we have that, right? And now you're going to move up here. So I just bar 4 and then second finger there. And as you see how that's marked, that's a C7th. There's our 7th on top now, right? And it's the 5th on the 4th string. So as you'll see, it says 5 on 4th. Like I said, sometimes, you'll see like 5 over 4. It looks like a fraction, So, and then we're up here. So we have flat 7, right? And then here, which is root. and then back up to here. And always go up the octave and down just so you can see your territory. Now here's another trick, is kind of how I look at it. They always go in order, right? So if you look at your lowest note, or you know how it's labeled, you have the third, 5, flat 7, 1, third. Makes sense? I don't know, that kind of works as a trick in my mind, right? But yeah, so what this is the first 4 of the 16 I'm gonna show you, right? Now here's the thing, there's a couple of rules here when you start building these drop 2s. So first off, you'd want to get comfortable with that, right? And we're gonna go through all 16, it'll be a lot, but you know, essentially you'd want to let's just do fourths. So let's go up a fourth to F. You'd want to find your lowest one there, so it's got the flat 7 in the bass. So then remember, it always goes in order, so now you have a root, third, fifth, right? And then flat 7 again, right? Let's just go one more key just for fun. Then you'd have B flat, right? So where's your lowest B flat? Right? Can't do that because it's diminished, too low, right? Like I said, you know, this is sort of an exercise, it's kind of a game or whatever, but it really helps you see stuff. And not only doing it in cycle of fourths or fifths or chromatic, you could always take chord progressions, just take like a 1, 4, 5. And this is kind of what I would call line building. I won't get into this too much, maybe at the end if we have a little bit more time, and we will talk about it in future lessons. But you know, like, say we're playing a blues in C, right? You know, C, 2, 3, 4, C, 2, 3, 4. And then what you can do is keep building a line up, right? So next is a 4 chord, which is the F chord, right? So then you'd find your next one up, which is here. 2, 3, 4. You know, and now you got to go back to C, okay? And see, but this note keeps going up. Now F, right? Okay, now we could use this, but it's the same note, right? And that would be the C with the B flat in the bass, or the flat 7. So we go up here. 2, 3, 4. Now we need to find our G, right? So we could keep going, or you can go down now because we're already, you know, we're not up an octave yet. So we'll go to G here, right? So you'd have, or sorry. Now our next F down. And then C, right? So does that make sense? It's like we're taking, you know, the high note, but you're using these chords, and that would be like building a line. And those are just 7th chords. But think of it like this, right? And I'm going to hit this a few times today. Just even doing that, it's a different approach, right? I mean, rather than just, you know, you do some cool rhythms or whatever. It works great. I also find the top 4 inversions, also just in terms of just giving you some examples for playability, works great for like a, you know, like a Delta blues thing, like finger style, you know. That's building the line, right? We keep going up, melody-wise, which is your top note. So now we have, now we gotta find our next C. It's up here. It's the exact same line I did earlier, just I'm finger picking it. Or we went back up again. And then down, right? Like I said, you have to keep going with the high note, if that makes sense. So like I said, that's a good way just to kind of make it applicable, if you will. Okay, now there's a couple of rules, and this is kind of sort of the same with triads in a way, and we'll go through these and then I'll explain. I'll use some examples that'll make more sense. But now remember, with like a flat 7th, right? So the third and your flat 7 are kind of the most important notes in these chords, but the thing is like if you're using, you know, a flat 7, you can replace it with, you know, like a 6. So here's our flat 7, right? That'd be a 6 chord, right? Or a major 7th. Right, and that's where you start building really cool drop 2s, right? So this is like a major 7th, a C major 7th, you know, drop 2. Very neat, way different than that, right? Now, with the third too, sorry, I should have started with the third. Just let's go back up, right? So third here, that can either be, you can make it a sus, right? The 4. Right, and then like with a flat 7, you can make it a 6 or a major 7th or something, right? So like those are some cool examples to use that with, right? Now, if we went up here, let's just go with 6 for a second, right? So remember, you could take a C7th, right? Strings 1 through 4, back it up 1, C6 like that. All right, now jump up here, and what I always do first is I always look at the like the template chord, right? There's 4 of them now because we start with the 3rd, the 5th, the flat 7, and the root, right? And then repeat. But where's your flat 7? Move it back 1. Oh, and then you have a 6th, right? Here. Where's your flat 7? Here. Move it back 1. And then you have to change your fingerings for that, right? So I just sort of visualize it and then just, okay, I back up 1 and then just find a way to, to find the respective fingerings to make the chord. Right, and now we're up here. Well, there's my flat 7. Move it down, right? And there's your other one, right? And then up here we'd have this again. Right, so like I said, like in Slices of Jazz, we learned some 6 chords, and now we're kind of learning like cooler drop 2 versions. But like I said, they just, they all sound different and cool in their own way. Like I love that one. I really love that one. This one's great, right? So like I said, that's kind of how you start building drop 2s, right? Is you take any one of these notes. What if we wanted to make it a minor 7th chord, right? We'll just keep it simple. Well, here's your 3rd, just flat it, right? So with a 3rd, you can do like the flat 3rd or the sus, right? And then your flat 7, you do 6, major 7, right? With root, you do 9 or something, and with 5th, you can do flat 5, flat, sharp 5, 13. I mean, there's all kinds of combinations too, and just like with the triad stuff, guys, this is where you want to be creative. Like, you also use your ear, like there's some inversions I'm going to show you as we go on, and you're going to be like, well, that sounds weird, or the fingering's way too hard, or, sometimes with the stretch, you'll have like those minor second intervals and stuff. So, but some of them sound really cool. And like I said, it's sort of having the knowledge base of it and then kind of running free. I will say, like, this is why we started with strings 1 through 4. It's great. It's in the higher register of the guitar. Find ones that you like, and you'll use them forever. I mean, there's some of these chords I've been using for 10 years. It's good stuff. So okay, so that's strings 1 through 4. All right, guys, if we will, let's go to example 2 now, which is 7th chord inversions, strings 2 through 5. Okay, now this one is a little tricky at first, right? Like I said, I started from the lowest part of the neck, right? I feel like this one was always the hardest for me, just gathering, but here's our C chord, right? This is string 1 through 4. This is kind of the template for it, is that chord, which is pretty stock C7th that we know, right? The thing is what you have to look at is you look at your low note. Like I said, these are labeled the same way. It just says 5 for the 5th string, because that's where all these chords are starting from, these 7th chords, right? Now the thing is here's a C. Is there a flat 7 lower? Yes, right here. And this is your chord, which is a super cool sounding 7th chord, right? Flat 7, 3rd, 5th, root, right? So and like I said, they're marked with the correct fingerings and everything, but, and then we have this. This is another great one, right? So remember, flat 7, 1, I always kind of visualize that going up. Not the guide finger like I like to talk about, but the guide note, if you will. Excuse me. So, right, we have that. Then we have this. Pretty standard chord we all know, right? And then we have this. And this is like, an A form flat 7 chord. Key of C. Then we have that. Kind of a stretch, but great chord. Right? With the 3rd. And then here, another great one. Right? And there's the 5th, and then you go back up to here, and this is where you have to refinger it because there's no open strings. Like I said, and then, like I said, you want to be able to eventually, run them up and down and not think about it. Like, that is a little hairy because you have the open string. It'll throw you, but knowing all those territories is very, very important, right? Now, same thing, right? Let's make them all 6 chords, right? All right, well, knowing that, we already know, these are the templates, right? So here's flat 7, let it go, down, and we have, right? C6 chord strings 2 through 5. Now check this out too. What also happens in this is kind of how I think of it sometimes, right? And I think by learning all these chords, I remember like people used to say, like C and A minor are the same thing, and they are because they share the same key signature, right? But like then you start learning all this jazz stuff, and it's kind of like, well, what? When you solo, it's like there's a bunch of chords going around. It's like, how do you do that? And I think when I started learning all these drop 2s, like this is what does that also look like? It's like an A minor 7th, right? And knowing that A minor 7th and C6 are the same thing, right? That's when I got that. Because somebody said that, and I went, oh, okay. So think of it like this, right? Like by knowing that, in a way, anytime you come across, if you're in the either A minor or C, which by seeing the fancier of the chords, and what I mean is like by playing jazz charts and being like, A minor 7th, C6th or whatever, you could literally take the same licks and insert them because it's the exact same thing, if that makes sense. It's theory, it's harmony, but it's not only that, my friends. It's like, it's seeing those shapes. And that's what I'm saying is like, once you kind of understand that, you can also use the same shapes either in A minor or C. And what's cool about that is like, say we were like doing like an A minor vamp, See, I'm using like inversions of C6 and stuff. But I have the A minor pedaling, right? And it works. And that's my point. And once you kind of start to see that and then like understand the shapes around the neck, that's when it's like, it kind of, it opens up your world a little bit. Like I said in the beginning of this lesson, it's like you little by little you kind of, these things unravel, and then it makes it easier, It takes time for sure, but it definitely does. So going back to your template, right? And like I said, I said that I encourage you to look at all that stuff. Like I say this every single lesson, but it's like don't just think, oh, these are like what Austin showed me. These are 7th chords and in C for like when I want to play jazz in C. Do not think like that. And some people do, you know, but don't. Like, look at it as, okay, I'm going to run these in different keys. Okay, well, what is the relative minor to this, you know? And then see the shapes, analyze the notes, you know. It'll make you much stronger of a player, I promise. You know, and it's sometimes it's not the most fun thing in the world. Like, trust me, when I learned all this stuff too, it was kind of like, okay, do it again, but then, you know, time goes by and you go, man, I'm really glad I did the work on that. Like, you know, these are great chords, you know. So, like I said, there would be our first strings 2 through 5, C6th, right? Okay, now with the 6 in the bass there, right? That's what you call it at that point. All right, so now go back to your second template, which is your A 7th like that, or C 7th, but A form, right? Well, here's our flat 7, move it back to a 6th. See? Super cool drop 2 version. And you know, we use that one a lot, but you know, like I said, it's a subtle little difference, but it's a really hip chord. And some of these you guys are going to like, some of them you're not. Some of you guys might have trouble with that stretch. I mean, it is kind of a weird one, you know, but it's a neat sound, right? So now you move into the next area, right, with the third. Now, say you're going to vamp before you started a tune, and it's just in C, you know, just by running those 2 new 6 chords you learned, sounds cool. If it was like 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the tune started or something, right? Like, you know, just another good example there. All right, so we're up to there, and now we're up to here. So we have C 7th with the 5th on the 5th string. So we have 5, root, 3, and then we have flat 7. Move it back. Great 6 chord. Also, Gypsy Jazz 6 chord. Gypsy Jazz guys love that chord. It's a great chord, you know. Like I said, I mean, they're all great, you know, but you'll definitely gravitate towards ones that you really like, and some are used, you know, more stylistically than others too. But we have that, and then we're back up to here, right? And now you have to make a bar to make up for that. And then here would be, you know, we don't have to go that far, but really nice chords, right? Okay, so now let's move, guys, to 7th chord inverted voicing strings 1 through 4. Okay, so these are a little, disclaimer, a little tougher. I use these quite a bit. I do. Like I said, whether you like it or not, it's, you know, it shows you how to, you know, figure out this thing called the guitar, the neck, right? So, I mean, like I said, so sometimes with this, now here's our things, you know, there's all kinds of drop 2 possibilities, right? What we're doing in this one is we're taking strings through 1 through 4, and then we're taking the top note and we're dropping it 2 octaves. So what's going to happen is this is going to stay the same, and this is how it's going to work for every chord, right? So this, if you can kind of just think of it like this, it sort of makes it easier in a way than just these weird shapes. You know, so you have to change your fingering there. But like I said, G note is going to drop 2 octaves. Now what's nice about that is it's going to be the exact same fret, just not on this E string, but on this E string, right? So we have this. Now we use that one all the time. Like I said, that's kind of a common chord. Even this in a way. I really like these. You know, they like I said, dropping that note 2 octaves, I don't know, it kind of gives some meat to these chords. Right, so does that make sense? So remember, it's everything from this, from the first example, Same thing, except this note goes all the way down here. Now some of the shapes are gonna look kind of weird. I love that chord, right? C7, flat 7 in the bass. Oh, also, I will say, I didn't say this, but you see it says, like for the first one, it says, like third on the, or wait, how did I do this? Yeah, the I means it's the inversion, right? If you see the little I behind that. Let me see, how did I write it? Yeah, so like you'll see, it'll say like third on the 4th string, but inverted meaning that one goes up down there. Yeah, because we're dropping 2 octaves, if that makes sense. Right? So that, right? So like I said, just like this, and all the fingerings are there, like just for lack of time, we're not going to spend too much time on that, but you have that. Great chord. Right? That one. 3rd, root, 5th, flat 7. Root, flat 7. 3rd, 5th. 3rd, root, 5th, flat 7. And then back up to here, right? So like I said, from there, guys, we just play the game again. Excuse me. Let's make it a 6th chord. So take your flat 7, drop it. Like I said, and then you come up with all these cool voicings. Right, so here, oh, what does that look like? An A minor 7th, boom. And that's where I'm trying to get the light bulb with you as well, to go on, right? The eureka moment. You know, like I said, seeing that, and like, you know, here's the thing too, you got to remember, this is not the best choice for a C6, but the fact that you understand that it is as well is what helps. And 98% of guitar players are going to say, oh, well, that's an A minor 7th. It is. But just also knowing that it is a C7, you know, or C6, excuse me, is very important, right? All right, so then we're up to here. There's our, you know, pretty much everybody's favorite C6 chord, that or that, right? But we have that. Now we're up here, right? So you have that, and then back up to here, right? And also, like I said, with this set of inverted voicings, you know, I mean, I see those shapes. I'm still seeing that, you know, just knowing that my, rather than high E, I'm on low E, you know. You know, I kind of see it all the way up and down the neck, if that makes sense. Like, these aren't too tough. I feel like the last set is tougher. But, like I said, great voicings, you know, if we wanted to, you know, real quick, make it minor again, right? So, great C minor 7th. All right. You know. Oh, what does that look like? An E flat 6, right? Said you start to see all these shapes and it's like, oh, cool, you know. Wait, hold on. Yep. Because E flat equals C minor. Makes sense? So yeah, like I said, there's, oh, and then we go back up to here again. So, you know, like I said, always start with your template first. what were we doing? We were doing minor, yeah. So you'd have, which is the same as that, right? And like I said, that's the goal. What you want to do is, you know, put different notes in these. Let's go through the last one if we have time. We'll use like a sharp 5 or something to show you how to make a different, you know, chord rather than a sixth drop 2 inversion or a minor 7th. But yeah, like I said, it's, you know, these are a little bit weirder. I mean, I still use them all the time in all kinds of different instances. Whoops. Right. And there was like one going back from strings 2 through 4, right? Or just kind of using it as like a quick, cool ending or something like I did. All right, guys, let's now move into the last group. And I'll be taking questions here in a few minutes, everybody, so don't be shy if you have any anything at all, you know. I'm here to help, so. Okay, so now we have the last one, right? And what we did here is we took this chord and we took, in the inside 4, strings 2 through 5. And what I did was I took this octave, right? Or, you know, the second string, and I moved it up an octave. Now remember too, like, you don't have to just do that. You could take like any one of those strings and put them on a different octave or whatever. You know, these are like 16 that make a lot of sense as a guitar player. But you can get really creative, like I said. Just depends on how far you want to go, or, you know, I mean, like I said, sometimes it's sort of like the C6 here with the A minor. It's an A minor, you know, like I don't really think, you know, people are really going to go for that a lot because the tonality sounds so much like A minor, right? But it's important to also see the information that's there, right? So like I said, not the only 16 options. You can get super creative, but what's important is just seeing, you know, the material there and understanding it. One more sip of my ginger ale here. Okay. So, with the last one, like I said, this is where we started like this. But now remember, this E note goes up an octave, right? The third of the chord, so it's just opened. Like I said, that's the weirdest one. Right, so there's our first inversion. And the same thing, you'd have the I after this just to let you know that it's inverted when writing with the fraction like I was talking about, right? And then you'd have this. This is kind of it's a cool chord, but it's kind of a weird catch, you know? And then back up here. Whoops. Like I said, just root, or sorry, you have flat 7, so then you know it's root, like just thinking thought process, just, you know, let that finger guide you up and down, like, because that's the thing too, this is a lot of information, and sometimes it's kind of like, well, I don't really know, you know, any sort of way that you could think, oh, this reminds me of this chord, or, like I always relate back to like The Simpsons, like I'm always talking about, with a sharp 11 interval. Right? Any of those little tricks, I don't, you know, I don't care what you use, but whatever works, more power to you if it helps you move it along. Like I said, for me, learning these, rather than just, oh, weird shape here, it always most definitely helps, like I see the cage system, right? Which is what we talked about in lesson 1 of this course. You know, more power to you if you got that. But then also it's like, well, if we're starting on flat 7, which is the lowest for C there, well, then I know next is root. You know, now I know if I move so many frets up, here's third, right? So, like I said, and then, you know, the fingerings too are a little tricky, but then fifth, right? then back to flat 7. Like I said, it's not going to happen overnight, guys. I mean, there's things you're going to have to do on your own, you know, to get a hang of this in a way. But, you know, if you get into it, I promise, like, it's so much, you know, good stuff on your plate here in terms of just building drop 2. So, like, let's go back to the same example we did earlier. Now let's make a 6th chord out of this. Pretty cool. Where's our next one? Right here. Kind of a stretch. Like I said, I don't use that one a lot. My hand doesn't like it. Right? This one's pretty easy. Right? So we have 3rd, root, 5th. Here was our flat 7. Move it back. You have your 6 right there, right? Now we have here 5th, 3rd, flat 7, root. Move your... It's a nice chord. C 6th, right? And now up to here. Move it back 1. That's another great one. Right? Real quick, if we wanted to make them all minor, right? Can't do it with that one because we can't flat that E, right? So you have to move to the next one. Kind of like when we did triads, you know, some of them just didn't exist starting from the lowest point. Minor 7th there, right? Then here you'd have this. Another one, kind of a toughie. Or, hold on, yeah. Yeah, it's just a nasty. Right, then you have here. Another tough one. Well, actually, not too bad. And so on, right? And, you know, like I said, those are just a couple. All right, so that was a lot today. But I hope that makes sense. And here's the thing, too. If it's a little foggy, like I said, just remember, try to run these, if anything, strings 1 through 4, strings 2 through 5. The inverted ones, you know, they're learn them all if you can. You know, you should learn them all just in general. But, like, in terms of, you know, ones that kind of work on the fly very fast or easy on the fingers, it would definitely be strings 1 through 4 and strings 2 through 5, in my opinion. And take those, like I said, and then just put different notes. So, like, if you wanted to make a sharp 5 chord, just real quick, using strings 1 through 4, you know, always just start with your knowledge of the 4/7 chords and where they are, right? And then go, okay, well, sharp 5. Here's 5. So there's 1, right? And then, you know. You know, and so on and so on. And like I said, you'll come up with some stuff you love, sometimes you don't. And, you know, if you like it, make a log of it. I mean, that's what I used to do. It, you know, because there's so much stuff out there. But, you know, like I said, just piece by piece, if you chip away at it, you'll eventually get there. So, all right, cool. Next week, what we're going to do, I'm about to open up the floor for questions here. But next week, what we're going to do is we're going to build a blues chord solo off of triads, 7th chords, right? And what we're going to do too is I'm going to put some of these notes in there, like, you know, we'll use, like, I don't know, B flat 9s and stuff like that, if we do it in B flat, or maybe we'll just keep it in C. But like I said, then I think it'll make more sense. But in the time being, you know, holler at me if you have any questions, obviously. But also, yeah, just try to run them and run them in different keys, like even just the 7ths, because then, you know, once you start to see that and you can switch the numbers around, are, you know, are the color tones, right? The upper extensions, if you will. You know, I just, if you do it, you know, I think you'll get quicker at it. So, you know, like I said, I mean, and today, just even the 6, I mean, those are great. You know, that's a great note for any sort of major sort of chord. And like I said, it also, like, these things, just to reiterate, it helps, like, rather than just sitting on C6, you know, by knowing a few of them, you know, in a 2-bar phrase rather than where it just says C6, it gives you options. It's you know, like I said, it's that piano player stuff, guys. So, all right, it's question time. Thanks. Okay, what's up, everybody? All right, so we got some questions coming in. Let's see here. Question number 1 is to define what a drop 2 actually is. Okay, so it's kind of...
Hey everyone, sorry we're having some technical difficulties with Austin's feed. If you are on jamplay.com and you're in our jam chat, he's going to hop on there and answer the questions that came through on jam chat. So you should see him in the chat room here any second, and hopefully he'll get those questions answered for you. But we're going to go ahead and end the feed now, and hope you can join next week for week 4. Okay, great. Thanks a lot.